Question for Destiny: do you think a child who survives a botched or failed abortion should be killed?
Is that to me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it? What was the question? I'm sorry, it cut out a little. I
That's
heard.
all right. As they asked, do you think a child who survives a botched or failed abortion should be killed? I think they mean like immediately after the abortion
Right,
is.
born alive in the course of an abortion procedure, I think is what they mean.
I mean, if it's less than 6 months, if it doesn't have its like brain developed or whatever, then sure. I mean, I wouldn't consider that a murder. But I mean, if it's post 6 months, I don't think you should be having that abortion anyway, because that does have a conscious experience and it ought to have moral consideration.
Gotcha.
I've got to push back. So before six, so let's say like I think the earliest surviving is like maybe 22 or 23 weeks, just short of your 6 month cutoff. Are you suggesting that even though that baby is now outside the womb and not a direct threat to anybody's bodily autonomy, they should nonetheless be killed because the mom just doesn't want to have a baby out there, isn't interested in placing for adoption? You think that is a sufficient justification at
Well,
that stage?
yeah, of course. I don't need a justification
Oh my gosh, Destiny.
because I don't consider it something worthy of moral consideration. Much.
I think you're putting yourself in a corner with respect to premature infants. But we can move.
Well, how? I mean, the onus is on you to establish why moral consideration should be granted. I granted at a state of having a conscious experience, and I don't believe that we've fully fleshed out or that you fully justified an alternative position there in terms of when you would grant moral consideration to anything.
Well, I thought the whole point of any right to abortion was to vindicate bodily autonomy. If you're saying, go ahead and kill the premature infant who doesn't have a conscious experience, that's going way beyond a right to abortion. That's creating essentially a right to a dead baby.
Yeah, okay, kill it. It's medical waste. Just throw it out. Let's say someone has an abortion at like 23, 24 weeks, right before that magical 6 month number that Destiny keeps talking about like he has a freaking PhD on this shit. And the baby comes out, alive. It's breathing. What do? It doesn't have a conscious experience. It doesn't merit any kind of consideration. Let it die. Just kill it. Yeah, let's just let that baby die. It was supposed to die anyway. A fetus at say 23 weeks, 5 days. Kill the thing. It's like a chicken with its head cut off. It's still got some life in it. It's still flapping, running around. It's still got 8 minutes before it realizes that it's light out or whatever. But I'm not going to put the dead chicken on a goddamn respirator. It's supposed to be dead. So, if a baby is aborted at 22, 23 weeks, even if it's still moving when it comes out, well, you didn't do a good enough job. Please break its neck. What was that doctor's name again? Oh yeah, he's in prison now. What you are saying is tantamount to Kermit Gosnell.
I don't know how the bodily autonomy thing plays in here. It's more just what do we?
Because we're talking about a baby that has exited the womb in a botched abortion procedure. Baby made it out alive. Why would the mother then have any say over what happens to the life of that baby?
Yeah. So again, the phrasing here is a form of begging the question. We're saying the baby made it alive. You're already winning your conclusion just on that phrase.
Look, even if you cannot accept that this fetus is a person, whether they can feel pain, have a heartbeat, have a conscious experience, quite frankly, is a distraction, particularly given modern day medical sciences. Even if you cannot accept that this 23, 24-week-old fetus is a human, a person worthy of saving, have some goddamn empathy.
Framing. I wouldn't say that a baby made it out. I would say that a fetus or
a 22-week-old.
Yeah, sure. A 22-week-old.
Whatever the heck it is, once out of the mother's body, why should the woman?
I think the fact that you would have to go through such an effort to perform an abortion, that there is a real chance that baby can come out alive, demonstrates how human and alive this thing really is. And the presence of this thing in front of you, conscious experience or nil, requires some kind of attention. It's like you can't even think of this baby as a living entity.
Then what interest does she have in that child's life or death? Why would she at that point be the decision maker when bodily autonomy isn't on the table with that?
I mean, that's an interesting question. I would argue that whatever came out would be the possession of that person. I'm saying that you can't, but you haven't provided any reason why moral consideration should be granted besides some vague intuitionism. The idea that, like, well, of course it's alive because it's a baby. But you haven't really established any reason why we should give moral consideration to that group of cells. I need the same as a tumor being pulled out of somebody versus a 22-week-old fetus that doesn't have a conscious experience.
The fetus.
Hey, Destiny, you keep throwing around the 6-month figure like it's some kind of magic number. Seriously, I know a lot of medical professionals say 6 months is considered the edge of viability. In reality, everything can be represented in ranges and percentages. The most recent data would probably put viability at about 24 to 25 weeks. But what does that mean? It certainly doesn't mean that a baby born at this point will not have any complications and will be just as well off if it were to be born at, say, 36 or 38 weeks. But we need to get this baby out now, so let's go.
This is a prematurely born neonate, and you're saying because that infant exited the body of this person.
So let's go. So yeah, viability is more of a spectrum than black and white. By the way, Destiny, 6 months does not equal 24 weeks. 6 months is more like 26 weeks. If we attribute 30 or 31 days to a month, we get 182 days for 6 months, roughly. That's 26. The problem is that every 2 months you add about an extra week. Now I know you may think I'm being pedantic with this, but when a person's life hinges on a matter of a few days, yeah, this kind of thing matters. I mean, if you look at the length of gestation, it's considered 40 weeks, not 36. A year is 52 weeks and 1 day. It adds up. So when doctors say the consensus of viability in the Western world with technology and modern medicine, and provided nothing goes glaringly wrong, is 24 weeks, that's not 6 months. So your 6-month number is completely meaningless. Hey, wait now, how accurate is 6 months viability anyway? I mean, it's not like we have people lining up to give birth at 25 weeks along, do we? We don't exactly hand out birth procedures to women who are 25 weeks pregnant, do we? So this number or statistic is kind of incomplete. What it really means is that this baby has to be born now because there is a complication or because the mother is too sick to carry it to term, and this is going to be our best effort. That is what the medical science says. It is our best effort.
Procedure, I think, is what they mean.
I mean, if it's less than 6 months, if it doesn't have its like brain developed or whatever, then sure. I mean, I wouldn't consider that a murder. But I mean, if it's post 6 months, I don't think you should be having that abortion anyway, because that does have a conscious experience and it ought to have moral consideration.
You see, concepts of whether or not we can consider a fetus as human or as a viable citizen of society or something that merits moral consideration hinges on the current cultural conceptions as well as the availability and advancement of life-saving technology. Therefore, this measure is going to be a constantly moving goalpost. As it should be, actually. I mean, 200 years ago, you weren't considered a person until you were born.
I don't know how the bodily autonomy thing plays in here. It's more just what do we?
Because we're talking about a baby that has exited the womb in a botched abortion procedure. Baby made it out alive.
Once a person is pregnant,
why would the mother then have any say over what happens to the life of that baby?
Yeah, so again, the phrasing here is a form of begging the question. We're saying the baby made it out alive. You're already winning your conclusion just on that framing. I wouldn't say that a baby made it out. I would say that a fetus or
a 22-week-old.
Yeah, sure, a 22-week-old.
Whatever it is, once out of the mother's body, why should the woman then
disorder?
What interest does she have?
Condition that prevents me
in that child's life or death.
So
why would she at that point be the decision maker when bodily autonomy is on the table?
Short of removing
I mean, that's an interesting question. I would argue that whatever came out would be the possession of that person, and that we should respect their right to whatever comes out of their body. So much the same way that, like, if I went to the hospital and I had a kidney removed, I think I should probably have like a right to hold on to that. I don't know if I'm not sure what the legislation says right now. Like, can a doctor like steal that body part from you if they take it out, or do you have the right to like walk away with it? But no, I mean, whatever comes out.
I think it has to be disposed of as medical waste pursuant to
Okay, sure. Then yeah, then whatever the law is, sure, whatever the law is, it would be disposed of. Then I guess it's medical waste.
think you're.
But no, I don't. I mean, like, I guess if you consented to it, you could. If you want to take.
I cannot disagree with you.
The woman has a right.
I think
to
that's
terminate pregnancy.
wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, I understand that you can't,
has
but
a right
you haven't
to her own
provided
body
any reason
because
why moral
she
consideration
did
should be
not
granted besides some
consent
vague
to it.
intuitionism. The idea that, like, well, of course it's alive because it's a
Presence of the
baby.
developing
But you haven't really
fetus
established any
can't
reason
use
why
her
we should
body.
give moral consideration to that group of cells. I
He
need the
may
same
also not
as a
have
tumor being pulled out of
financial or
somebody versus a
emotional means to go
22-week-old fetus that
through
doesn't have a conscious
with the
experience.
pregnancy or being a parent.
The fetus has now left the
And
body,
we
is
should
no
not
longer a
enforce
fetus, is a
this burden
prematurely
upon
born
her for the
neonate.
sake of another life.
And you're saying because
that is the
that
compassionate
infant
answer.
exited
The
the
compassionate
body of this
answer
person,
for
that
the
she
fetus
now
is,
has
if we have the
possession over
technology,
that
we are going
premature
to attempt to save it.
infant as a
This would
thing.
mean that in the case of
like
a
no
botched
no
abortion, we would
Forgive
at
me,
the very
I wanna get-
least comfort
possession
the
of a
fetus
human being is
and
just
take
messed up.
measures.
We
can-
cannot.
Yeah, I mean,
I
again, yeah, I understand we can
This
move on, but again,
also
like, we've
medical
engaged in so much
technology,
begging the question. Like, you're constantly
and it
thinking,
would
like,
allow for
how can you
more
have
lives
possession of a
to
human being? Well, I'm not
be
saying it's a
spared.
human being. Okay, but the baby has come out of it. But I'm not saying it's a baby. Okay, but like, that's a person. I'm not saying it's a person. Like, you constantly beg the question with your phrasing. You're not really engaging with the idea that, like,
And
it's not a person.
I'm not trying to beg the question. I guess I came into this discussion assuming that you wouldn't condone infanticide, that we were only talking about a right to abortion, of a killing taking place within the uterus. I thought that's what we were arguing about, and it has turned out that your position goes beyond.
I don't think a person's, like, whether or not they're given moral consideration is determined by geographic location. I wouldn't say you could kill a person in the uterus. I mean, I don't think you should be able to abort somebody at 7 or 8. That's a ridiculous proposition. So somebody becomes a human only once they're born, like the passage through somebody's stomach or vagina makes you a person.
I agree that that's ridiculous. It's current law.
Wait, you can have late-term abortions are legal in all parts of the United States? I was not aware of that.
From the equation, we can put the baby on life support, and if it dies, at least we can say that we did our best. That is compassion. That is what Destiny's answer lacks.
I mean, the onus is on you to establish why moral consideration should be granted. I granted at a state of having a conscious experience, and I don't believe that we fully fleshed out or that you fully justified an alternative position there in terms of when you would grant moral consideration to anything.
Well, I thought the whole point of any right to abortion was to vindicate bodily autonomy. If you're saying, go ahead and kill the premature infant who doesn't have a conscious experience, that's going way beyond a right to abortion. That's creating essentially a right to a dead baby.
You lack the compassion this kind of issue requires. The position a doctor like this would be placed in. You cannot see past your own black and white decision. You have bought your decision wholesale without properly considering every single facet. Thank you.